All right. Okay, let's create a plane and go to Exchange, create description with everything at the default. Just create. You can see we've got quite some primitives. Okay, the first one is primitive type. You can change it to spline, to sphere, card, archive. For example, change to sphere, change to sphere. You can change to card. Okay, they will change to card, as you can see. They're all facing down. Okay, you can change to archive since we don't have any custom geometry in the list. You'll get some kind of error. We have to create or add some custom geometry. So as to be distributed along the surface. If you want to create a forest, you can create as many trees as you want, then you can distribute it along this surface, then you'll be fine. Perfect. Another option here is let's just change back to spline. And another option is you control using, okay, what do you want to use to control the primitives? You want to use attribute or you want to use guides? Okay, we'll talk about guides later on. For now, let's stick on attributes. Perfect. We have a couple of options to control the CV count. One for the attribute CV count, the other is for the modifier CV count. Also, what type of CVs you want, uniform or non-uniform. We'll talk about that when you reach the band section. Okay, so let's talk about length for now. The length, okay, it's very simple. You can increase or decrease the length. You can add numbers, for example, 100 to change the length to 100, as you can see. Wow, too long. Okay. You change to something like 10. Or you can click on this icon, okay? You'll get Xgen expression editor. Everything in Xgen is expression. So as you can see now, the length equal 10. We can write an expression. For example, you want to have a random length from, for example, 1 to 5, something like that. Not everything so straight and equal. So you can just type an expression like rand and with a floating number like, for example, 1 to 5. Then close and choose accept. We get an error. Okay, let's see what's the problem. Just go back here. See, we have everything looks okay. Let's change it to 4.0, 1.0, and 5.0. Okay, since it's a float, we should have a point. Let's just accept. Still, we've got a problem. Right. Let's see if I have a space here. Just accept. I've still got a problem. What if I just deleted this? Just get. If you got a problem, it's a good example. If you got a problem like that, just right click, choose reset to slider. Okay, then you can just select this. Okay, now the slide is at 0, so we need to select this. Let's choose the previous one. We call it rand and choose 1.0 to 5.0. This should work. Choose accept. Now it works. Great. Okay, sometimes we have to do it again to make it work. No problem. So as you can see, some of them has the length of shorter than the others. Some of them are 1, the others 5, and the others are in between. So okay, we've got width. We can change the slider to change the width. Also, we can add expressions. okay, you can get expression from here. But the beauty of this section here is, for example, if you write any expression, um, you will get the help. For example, if you choose a any expression whatsoever, sine, for example, sine, just types select this, type sine. As you can see, you get a list of expression. Okay, and if you type, for example, a, you'll get a list of expression. I'll starting with a. If you just type b, you'll get a list of expression starting with b, and so on and so forth. And if you just want a sine, okay, just press an enter, and for example, sine of 45 degrees, something like that. Choose accept. We'll get an error. Okay, this is sine. I think we have got one more here, so 45. So choose accept. As you can see here, we've got this number. Okay, so here we go. So you have to be very careful when you type expressions. I'll just change it back to a number, and the best way, I believe, is just to reset to slider and change it back to something like 0.05 or maybe 0.1. The best, and you have to be very careful, and when you type expressions, make sure it's correct. Okay, and also taper, just increase this to 1. The taper is tapering. Okay, it's very self-explanatory. If you just, it will scale the end. And when you want the taper to start, if you want to start at the very bottom, you can see an example like that. When you start out from the middle, you get an example like that, just from the middle. Okay, and here we go. Okay, you can see the modifier CV count. Change it to something like 10. As you can see, it's much smoother. We'll talk about that later. Let's just change back to 5, for example. Also, we have tilt. Okay, that was too much. Change to something like 0.5. Okay, turn them tapering to 0. Taper start to 0. And in fact, this to 0.1. Okay. Before talking about the tilt, let's just talk about the tilt. You have tilt U, tilt V. Also, we have tilt N, which is from the top. You can see it clearly. Tilt N, you can see. Also, we have the round N. If you just rotate it, you can see that. And it's very best. It's much clear if we use bend. And let me just change the tilting. Tilting is very clear. If you want to tilt in, just let me show you one more time. Okay, change the round 0 and this tilt to 0. So I zeroed out all these. If you want to tilt in this axis, you can see. If you want to tilt in this axis, and if you want to tilt from this axis, okay, and the round N is very obvious when we talk about the bending. Okay, so it is time to talk about the bend. In the bend section, we've got bend param 0. Okay, I'll talk about that 0 in a moment, but we have bend param 0 and bend. The bend param 0 is when you want to start the bend. Now it is starting from the middle. So if we just bend this guy, let's just bend it in V. As you can see, it bends from the middle. If we let's just bend it more, Okay, it's much clear. Look at this one. And if it's not clear, let's change it back to spline and change this guy to 0.1. Now it's much clearer. Okay, in the bend section here, you can see in the bend V, and if you want to the bend start from this point, you have to change the parameter, and if you want to start bend at the very tip, you have to change the parameter like that. Okay, very clear. And also, so we have got all these options with a bend V, bend U, bend V, and also bend parameter. And the around end is very clear. If you want to, if you have a bend, then you can very simply rotate when you want to face. Okay, it's very obvious. Okay, you can rotate it. It's just like rotating okay. Okay, it's also in number, in degrees. Okay, perfect. And so if we change to something like 45 degrees will be rotated. So let me talk about the attribute C, attribute C count, CV count, and modifier CV count. The attribute CV count. If we look at this guy here, you can see we can see the sections because very low res. If we increase this to something like 10, it's even, you can see still you can see the section, but it is much higher. Change to something like 20, even higher, something like 40, much higher. Okay, so it is much smooth and much higher. Okay, and also we can change. Okay, let me talk about the attribute CV count. We have one bend. Okay, we can have as many bends as you want. For example, let me just make a clear example. Okay, the bend amount is a little bit too much. Just something like 1. Okay, the first bend looks like that. Okay, it starts from the middle and it bends about 1, which is 1, in this case 1 equals 90 degrees. Okay, it bends about 90 degrees from the middle. What if I want to have another bend, but this time I want to start from the 75 degrees, something like that, and bend again by 90 degrees, okay? Or one more. So just change this to 0 in the V. So all I have to do just add one more bend. Okay, that so we have a couple of bends. At the bend 1 is okay, bend change to 1, and the parameter is set to 0.33 by 33. Let's keep it like that. And the second bend I want to start, okay, add some value to it. So the second bend I want to start at, I want to have also 1, as you can see here. But as I told you before, I want to have at 75, so 0.75. So we've got something like that. And I want to have another bend. This time I want to have on 90 degrees, something like the very end, also bend in 1. So to do so, just add one more bend. So you can have as many bends as you want. As you can see, it is penetrating the surface, don't worry. And the third bend, okay, let's leave the other bend. The third bend, I would like to change the parameter. So the parameter for the second bend is like that. and this is the 0 bend, and the parameter is 2.5. The second bend is 0.5. The third bend is 0.75. Okay, you can change it to any number you want. Let's just give it some value. Change something like 1, and change the bending amount to something like 0.95. 0.90, okay? So as you can see, it bends at the very bottom, but the problem is this bend is too much at that section. So let's just, okay, now it looks okay to me. It should be 0.75 in fact, and this bend should be okay. That's okay. That's exactly what I want to have, something like that. So you can create as any funky shapes you want. You can also add expressions and to randomize them. But that's it. You can have as many bins as you want, and by just adding CV count, I believe it should have been called attribute CV count. See that should bin number or something like that. Okay, instead of having attribute CV count. But anyway, you understand now attribute CV count equals to the number of the bins, okay, whether bin U or bin V, and very self-explanatory. Also, we have another option here which is called display width. If we just turn off, we can only see the length and the shape. There's no width whatsoever. It's very useful if you have a lot of primitives, millions of primitives in your scene, and you don't have and you have an animation and you don't have enough memory to run smoothly. It's very simple. Just turn the display width off, so it will turn off without affecting the performance. Okay, and you can still see the shapes. Okay, the shapes without seeing the width. Also, we have a couple of motion. One is called the tube shape. If you turn off, it will change it to something like, just turn the face camera off. It will change to something without thickness. And if you turn face camera on, you can see that it always looks at the camera, that width or that face, and that's very useful. Okay, so I think tube shade, when it is off, you have to turn this option on, or it will be almost useless. Okay, so you have to turn this on. Also, if you use the card, okay, if you use card, make sure to use face camera, so you can see the cards always facing the camera. Okay, you can change the width to make it more clear, to see it more clearly, so 2 by maybe 2, so you can see it's always facing the camera, and you can apply a texture to it, and the texture always facing and looking at the camera. Okay, which is cool. If you turn this guy off, it will face it down, and even sometimes okay, you can see an error from Maya. I'll just turn Maya off and turn it on again. It's okay, and that's why saving as frequently as possible is very necessary, so as to be able to load your scene without wasting time. Okay, so let's talk about the guide. So let's create one more plane and turn this grid off. Go to expression and create an expression. Choose placing and shaping guides, this one, and then choose create. Now, since we have guides and we have talked about modifier CV control, which is the resolution of the primitives, but we have 4 more options at the very bottom. One of them is called rebuild and normalize, set length, and tube room. Okay. Okay, so let's talk about the rebuild. We have to click on this icon, which is add and moving guides. Click one to create a guide, maybe two guides or three guides, and then just show me the primitive tube is, and you can see the I have three guides, and with each guide, as you can see, with a specific radius, we can see the tubes or primitives. Okay, we can, if you can see the guides, if you right click on the guide, choose guide control point, and can move the CV of the guides. Okay, and if you think you don't have enough, for example, if you want to create something cool, if you think you don't have enough CV, okay, you can select the guide or select as many guides as you want, and you can increase the number of the CVs by just click on rebuild. Since it is uniform, it will be clean, and choose for example 10, making it double. So as you can see, it's much smoother. Right click, choose control versus. Now we have more CVs. If we just move this guy down and move this guy up, that way we can see. Okay, and that's it. Here we go. Now with that, so we can see that if you think it is not still enough, you can always go to rebuild, and if you think you want to make it a little bit smoother, just normalize it. It will be a little bit smoother. If you think it is not smooth enough, one more normalizing will be okay. Or you can just add more CV, for example, changing to 215. Okay, and press on normalize. It will normalize the CV count, and as you can see, if we press on this guy or do some update, so all the primitives will follow. But look at that, we have a very curvy shape of guide, but the primitives does not like that. We can just increase the modifier CV count to something like 50. Now we will get almost exactly the same shape. Okay, even smoother than the guide. Okay, set length, it's very obvious. We can set length to something like, for example, 10, which is okay. Now it is longer, so if we just look at that, if we think it is longer, change something to something like 1, and choose, as you can see, it is really short at the very bottom. 1 is very short. Let's change to something like 3. Okay, choose refresh. Now we've got 3. Okay, so what about the tube groom? Okay, so to use a tube groom, we have to have a clear scene. You can just go to the outliner, delete this collection, and then select this. Okay, before selecting and creating description, we should have a geometry. So just go to create and polygon. In this case, okay, I'm gonna create a cylinder. Okay, and go to the attribute editor for the cylinder, and in the creation panel, let's change the radius to something like 2, and then the height to something like 5. That will be the height of the guides. So you'll use a geometrical or polygonal object to shape the guides. And you can change the subdivision to something like 20 is okay. The height change to something like 3. And the cap, I don't need the cap. And right click, go to faces, select the face. Just decrease it, select this, double click on it, just do a very quick modeling. Okay, and let's just double click on this face. Go make sure to add in the polygon section, go to the mesh tools, bevel, and okay, I'm not gonna go to, okay, go to segments, add one more segment. So I just created something like that, okay, a very simple shape like that. I really want to have guides following this shape. Okay, to do so, select this new object and make sure it is a little bit intersecting the plane. Okay, okay. Then select the plane and go to the XGen create description. Make sure to use placing and shaping guides, not this one. Just create. Okay. Now click on tube groom. Don't click on this add and move guide because we don't need to add our guide by ourselves, and Maya will do for us. Just click on tube groom or tube based chromie, which appears something like that, with so many options. In fact, not so many. Select this object you create, or if you there's, for example, 2 or 3, let's just select this one and choose Control D to duplicate it. Select one more and choose R to scale it. Scale it down. Okay. So we've got 2. We can have as many as you want. Select both of them. Then load it. Click on this arrow, which looks at the left. And let's go to the wireframe modes. And please click on test. If you click on test, you'll get something like that, which shows the, as an indicator, which shows the guides, where the guides should start. Okay, and the spacing, guide spacing, specify the number of the guides. We have 19 guides. If we decrease it to something like, for example, half that amount, so we'll get more guides. As you can see, 39 guides now. And the guide mask, it tells if you just create a new mask, just same as the mask here, but this time if you don't want guide from a specific area, you can create a mask and you can paint it in black, then you'll have no mask whatsoever. The cut which is the cut parameters, you can also use create a map, or you can where the gray have a medium value, while the black has no zero length as the length of the guides. Okay, well, 1 is equal to the exactly the length of these edges, and 2 will be double, and 0.5 it will be half, something like that. Okay, and the CV frequency is the number of the CVs of the guys. As far as I understand that, it only decreases the number of the CVs. It doesn't add to the CV. Okay, so if you want to add more CV, you have to click on select all the guides, or one guide, or as many guides you want. Then click on rebuild. Then you get more CV if you want more. Okay, but to get more CV from this, it doesn't work. Even from the help file, it tells you it's only used for reducing the amount of CVs. Okay, so this is it. Also, we have the texture text cell per unit. We have it changed to a ptext file. So if this is specified that the file size and the resolution of that text. I think by default 10 is okay. So with everything like that, you can just choose generate, and wait a few seconds to Maya to let Maya okay, load the and then it's okay. If you go back to the shading mode, Now we have got a problem. The first problem, okay, let's just choose this. The first problem is we've got primitives outside the guide. It's very simple to remove. Just go to create map. You can choose star color with white is okay. Choose and make sure it is heart edges. Then you can just select this area and remove it. Just save. You can see it's very simple to remove. Save. Okay. Save. So it is very simple to remove. But the point is, if we look at that, let's just select these two polygonal gem objects. This one, Control S to hide, and that one, if I can select it, it's a little bit tricky to select. Just select this one, choose hide. As you can see here, we've got quite a lot of guides created very quickly using the tube grooming method. Okay, you can change the number of this density to something like 10. Okay, we've got one here. We can use the map again. Okay, to delete. So here we go. Now we've got quite some tubes very quickly, and you can also use select these guides, for example, control and select. For example, you can select all these guides. In fact, just control points. For example, if you want to change the shapes of them very quickly, you can do that. Okay, that's a very good example. I'm trying to select the control points. I cannot do that. If you think you cannot select the control points, sometimes it occurs. I have no idea why it happens, but it happens in my case. It happens sometimes, not a lot, but sometimes. To fix that, it's very simple. Just go to File, Save Scene As. You can save it as any name as you want, call this test. In this case, just save it and then go to Open and open the file. You will lose nothing. Just select the guys again, right click, choose control point. Now you'll be able to select them. You can also move them. Okay, and you can shape them as you want. Okay. Then after shaping them, you can refresh it so the primitives will follow the guide. Okay. You can also rebuild, normalize them, and things like that. So that's very clear. I think we talked about almost all the options in the primitive attributes. And for the spheres, we don't have so much option, okay? Except for the twisting, we have twist, okay? And depth. So for the cart, we don't have so much except for twisting, and that's it. So we talked about almost all the options in the custom on the primitive attribute section. Okay, great.